It's time for the annual iPhone versus Pro camera. Can you see the difference? To see how quickly the camera industry is crumbling. JK. AI is taking over creativity anyways. JK on that JK. Or is it? Why do I do this? Well, every year we're getting closer and closer to 99.9% of people not needing a dedicated camera because they can just use the one in their pocket. Photos are already unreal, and I feel like you could pass iPhone only pretty easily nowadays. But the real question is video. Can you see the difference? So I'm gonna show you an edit, and I want you to tell me which clips are filmed on the iPhone 14 Pro and which clips are on the Sony FX3 Pro camera. Count how many you get wrong and tell me in the comments. Be honest. So, how many did you get wrong? Be honest. I want to know because this really helps me in just thinking about this whole space. And if you got any wrong, even one wrong, that's powerful. The difference just a few years ago, how bad the cameras were on phones and it captured the moment, but it wasn't good at all. To now, you can hide an iPhone clip with Pro camera footage. I made Tyler do this because I wanted to see first, is it really obvious? All right, Tyler's gonna do the blind test. Let's see how many gets right.
Yep.
Go for it.
iPhone. FX3. iPhone. iPhone.
I love that you're question marking. All right, you did pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay.
But you did get 6 wrong.
6.
6. You got a lot of them right. A lot of them you spotted right away, but you did get 6 wrong.
There's like different skin stuff happens with the skin, and also transitioning from like highlights into like a shadowy thing. There's some like indicators, but there's some where I couldn't tell at all.
There's definitely differences. But it's I like it. Some of them, like the one where it's Isaac sitting on the stairs and it's like pointing up. You're like, and you did get it right. That was iPhone. But I feel like that one's gonna fool a lot of people. And he got most of them right, but he did still get 6 wrong. And Tyler's pretty good at these usually, so it's unreal how fast we've gone from me making a video about how I hate shooting on phones to now me recommending a phone for most people that are like, hey, what camera should I get as my first camera? I'm just like, just get a good iPhone. I will say though, the iPhone footage took way more effort to make look good. The color grading is really tricky on iPhone footage and smartphone footage in general. Other companies are even worse. So in some ways, an iPhone while you're shooting, it's just so much easier, but then the color grading is way tougher. Whereas on a Pro camera, actually using it, you actually have to know how to use it. You don't just point and shoot, but then the color grading, the post side is so much easier. And if you use your smartphone for photos and video as much as I do, but want to make it feel a little bit more like an actual camera, ShiftCam has some really cool accessories, like this Pro Grip. It really makes it feel more like a camera instead of a smartphone. It's got a really cool ergonomic grip with a wireless shutter. It's got a wireless power bank built in, so you're charging as you're filming, letting you get up to 3 times more footage in a day. Swap to vertical, really nice and easy. It's got a cold shoe mount, which is great because if you're filming on a smartphone, one of the biggest problems is that the audio isn't so good. So with the cold shoe mount, you can easily plug in a microphone, mount it here, and get better audio. And while you're not using it to film, you can use it as a docking station to charge your phone or take a phone call. They also have a bunch of other options like the Snap Grip Creator Kit that comes with a smaller grip, a built-in wireless charging battery bank, a tripod mount, and a light, or go super light with a snap shoe and just plug in a microphone. The more I use my phone for video, the more tools like these become really valuable, especially if this is your main camera. Use the link down below to get a discount and a free gift. Thank you so much, ShiftCam, for sponsoring this video. So why do I do this challenge year after year? I think it's a really fun and interesting way to see where we are on this race of cameras between smartphone companies and the traditional camera companies. One of the biggest surprises for me is the wide camera on the iPhone 14 Pro, how good the bokeh is without like any cinematic mode or any of that stuff, just straight from the camera itself. You're actually getting shallow depth of field, which is very impressive to me. Which I've been talking about is really the last piece for video. The dynamic range is already insane. The stabilization is better than in the Pro cameras. And then we have shallow depth of field, which has been much worse than in the Pro cameras. But now we have a little bit of, the software and also just the lenses and the sensors getting a little bit bigger. We're getting natural shallow depth of field. Now there is one more area that I think is really missing, which we'll talk about at the end, because I think there might soon be a solution for that also. But the real question is, why and how are smartphones catching up so fast with Pro cameras? And I think the why is because there's way more incentive. There's so much competition in the smartphone space right now, and not much is changing except for the cameras right now. Year after year for the last couple of years, the cameras have been getting massive boosts. And that's because I think a lot of people are using their phones as, their personal computers, but also just capturing life memories and posting them on social media as their camera. So I feel like companies like Apple are just putting way more time and money in innovating their cameras and sensors in comparison to, the traditional Canon, Sony's, Fujifilm, Nikon, all of the traditional camera companies which are making the legit Pro cameras. And then how is this happening? Well, largely in part because of computational photography. They're using software to make these tiny sensors, which are way smaller than on my Pro camera. They're making them look way better with things like HDR video, so they're having high dynamic range, which makes the quality look way better, because if it wasn't HDR, the dynamic range from that small sensor is just terrible. You would right away be like, oh, and you see that on some other cameras, other phone companies, they don't have very good HDR, and you're just like, that doesn't look good. Stabilization is insane on pretty much all the phones, especially the iPhones. Adding shallow depth of field with things like cinematic mode or portrait mode in the photos. And then even just like the noise reduction, there's way more noise on a small sensor, but they're doing such good noise reduction while still keeping some of that detail and resolution. And here's where I think things are getting very interesting right now. I don't know if you guys have seen, you guys have probably seen this massive rise in AI machine learning technology, and that might actually unlock some of the last pieces of the puzzle for making these small sensors look more like Pro camera sensors. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing machine learning and AI technology adding things like resolution and detail and making it look like a much more high-end, bigger sensor than what we actually have in the phones. Basically, we're gonna have phones that look like Area Alexas in the future. I don't know if this is 100% true or how long it's gonna take. I really do think in some sense that will become true, and we will start seeing these tiny sensors being just boosted by this like new level of computational photography, which I feel like they're already kind of using this similar technology, but now there's just so much more access. Now there's obviously limitations of power consumption, performance, all of that stuff. It's probably still gonna take a little while, but the difference between cameras on phones 5 years ago to now, to 5 years from now, I don't even know how crazy it's gonna be, but I can guarantee you it's gonna be nuts. And I wanna know your thoughts. Are you using your phone as your main camera more often than you ever have? Because I definitely have. Convenience is so often the king, and I legit use my iPhone as a camera way more often than I do any other camera, including my main camera here at the office. Can't wait for that Area Alexa quality. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys later. Bye.